Hi Geometry. Today we're going to look at some different area comparisons to make sure we're understanding the relationships between the areas. So first off, we've got area of a trapezoid. This is what you guys were looking at on Monday. So as you guys saw, what we did was we averaged the bases. We said that area of a trapezoid is base 1 plus base 2 over 2. That is averaging our two bases. And then we multiply by our height. Now, area of a parallelogram, we saw last week that that's just base times height. Now that should look familiar because we're going to compare it to something else later on. Area of a rectangle, you might remember, is just base times height. So let's take a second and look at why area of a parallelogram and area of a rectangle are the same. Because if I took my parallelogram and I took this shaded area and I moved it here, well, what I would actually have is a nice rectangle of the same base and height. So I'm taking this area, I'm moving it over here. That is why the area of a parallelogram and the area of a rectangle have the same exact formula. So I just want to make sure we understand why that was. Now, let's look at area of a triangle. Area of a triangle, we have 1/2 base times height. So we might notice that this is half the equation of area of a rectangle and area of a parallelogram. That is because the area of a triangle is really just half the area of a rectangle if that rectangle had base and height. This is the rectangle of that base and height, and this is cutting in half. That is why the area of a triangle is like that. Now let's look at, back up to the area of a trapezoid and see if we can figure it out. So let's think, if I had cut this out into, okay, I have two triangles and a rectangle. Now this rectangle is area of base 2, the one up here, and of a height. That's that middle area. Now let's figure out what each of these triangles would be. Well, just to make it easier, let's pretend that it's a rectangle, the move we did earlier, and take this area and add it over here. So now we have just a rectangle. And let's see, what would this new area be? It would be base 1 minus base 2 divided in half. So this would be base 1 minus base 2 all over 2. And then it would be of area h. So then, of height h. So then the area of this part would be this length down here, which is base 1 minus base 2 over 2, multiplied by h. So really the area of a trapezoid would be adding these two together. Now we just have to prove that adding those two together gets me here. I'm going to do that in blue to make sure we can see it. So I'm proving that base 2 height plus base 1 minus base 2 all over 2 times height is actually equal to this figure up here. So let's see. If I have base 2 height plus, let's split this up into base 1 height over 2 minus base 2 height over 2. Well, now base 2 height minus base 2 height over 2 leaves me with just base 1 height over 2 plus 1/2 base 2 height over 2, because half of this figure was taken away from this one. That is the same thing as what we have up here, which is base 1 plus base 2 all over 2h. So we just proved the area of a trapezoid from the fact that I can break a trapezoid. I'm going to do it one more time. I can break a trapezoid into this rectangle, and then I can bring this triangle over here, and I have another rectangle. So I get rid of this really, and then I'm considering this rectangle, and then I added those two together, algebraically manipulated it to get back to my original value. All right, so you have a Google form quiz that is based on this information. Good luck.